joining us via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network, former NFL quarterback, college football, CBS Sports headquarters. All right, I saw the Cam video, and I got to be honest, Danny, I loved it. Cam was like, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to say anything. And I said, listen, this is a big deal for Cam. There was no market for him. If it doesn't work and he and Belichick don't work, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to marginalize him, Danny. They're going to be like, it's too much ego. He's all beat up. And I kind of thought that airport thing yesterday, I was like, that's a sign. Like that's a sign. That's how I took it, that Cam's ready to roll and do the Patriot Way thing. Your thoughts?
Totally agree. I mean, this is a great sign if you're a Patriot fan, that he's going to come in and that he just wants to go to work. Because what have his critics always said about Cam? Enough of the talking, enough of the distraction, enough of the outfits and hats, enough of the bandanas. Just go out in the field and give me the Cam Newton that was the MVP of a few years ago. And I think that's what Patriots fans want to, try to see on the field. And I think that's great advice. I mean, I think it's always best to let your actions do the talking. And then if you go out there and ball the season and you're scoring touchdowns and right back at the top of the AFC East again, then you can show more of your personality. But the Patriots don't know Cam Newton the way the Carolina fans knew Cam Newton. They're just meeting him. So I think it's a great first impression. And I do think it is him falling in line, so to speak, with that Patriot Way.
It's interesting. I watched the NBA stuff last night, and it worked to me. It just worked. I can watch it without fans. It's no big deal. The way the NBA set up, the theater set up, I was like, I can totally enjoy this. I totally get it. NFL, no fans. What do you make of that? I don't know how it's going to work for me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know either. And this is the big question mark. I think it'll feel weird. I mean, I think it'll feel like watching a practice. I mean, what do we always complain about in the preseason when we have those 4 preseason games? Yes, some of it is because we're not seeing the stars play the entire game, but I also think it's lack of atmosphere. The stadiums are half full. There's no energy. I go back to college, when I was covering college games or even playing in college games. What do we say about noon kickoffs? Well, they're a little lethargic. It just doesn't have that same energy. You take away any energy whatsoever, and I think it takes away a lot of the excitement, the energy that you see in an NFL broadcast. And even on top of that, Colin, I think competitively, you'll see a shift, because if it is quiet and there are no fans and there's no crowd noise pumped into the stands, you will hear things as a player that you couldn't with a crowd full of people. For instance, if the quarterback is calling plays over and over, whether they're in the no huddle or they're in the huddle, the defense will be quiet because they'll be listening. They'll be saying, all right, if we can hear all of this, let's see what intel we can gather that's going into the playbook. So I think that's going to be something that's going to take an adjustment for a period. And same thing with a quarterback. He'll be listening to the defensive checks that you probably never could hear before. All of a sudden, with that crystal clarity, it's going to bring in another dimension of competitiveness that players and coaches will have to manage with no fans.
There was a story this week. Steve Young, smart guy, we both know him, came out and said Kyle Shanahan doesn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, that's the next step for Jimmy Garoppolo. So does that mean to you, having played in the league, does that mean buyer's remorse? What does that mean when Steve Young, which I think was accurate in his assessment, says Kyle doesn't trust him? What does that mean?
I would agree. I don't think he has full trust in Garoppolo just yet, but I don't think it means they have buyer's remorse. I think they're, look, he brought him to the Super Bowl. I mean, there's not a lot of coaches that would complain about that. I think it's, hey, we expect you, Jimmy Garoppolo, to take the next step as a quarterback, the next step where we can trust you in any and every situation to call any play that we want to call. Because I do think Kyle Shanahan pulls back the reins at times, not the entire season, not for entire games, in critical situations. I think there are certain things he wants to accomplish or wants to try, and he says, I just don't know if Jimmy G is there yet. I think that's that trust level that you want to get to, and I think they will get there. I think it takes time to develop that trust and to get that extra out of a quarterback at the line of scrimmage. You might want to put more of the playbook on his shoulders on game day, but you're just holding back like, hey, we don't want to confuse him. We don't want to throw too much at him. Those are the types of details that I think Kyle Shanahan would love Jimmy Garoppolo just to take that next step. And we've heard these whispers, it almost makes you feel like Kyle Shanahan is giving these people this information so that Jimmy Garoppolo gets the message and does take his game to the next level.
It's interesting. I saw Greg Cosell had a comment yesterday. He was on Cleveland radio. And Greg Cosell said, Baker Mayfield has a great arm. He's a much better thrower than Kirk Cousins. So this thing's going to work with Kevin Stefanski because Stefanski had, Kirk Cousins, and Baker's a way better thrower of the football. And I do think Baker has a fine arm. I think there's very few world-class. I think there's like 3 great arms in the league. I mean, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, it just looks different. Maybe Big Ben in his prime. And then there's a handful of not great arms, but most in the league are pretty close. So as a former quarterback, I just think it's interesting. Take me to Kirk Cousins and take me to Baker Mayfield, Danny. You're a scout. Size them both up. What is Kirk Cousins as a quarterback? I'm not talking judgment. What is Baker, his skill set? What do you see with both?
I see Kirk Cousins as, average arm strength, above average intellect, above average football IQ. I think he has above average character, leadership skills, that he's going to be a leader of men. The guy that, you'll trust on the field, that he's going to be prepared every single week. And you don't have to worry about what he's going to say to the media. What is he going to pop off to the other team? Something that's going to cause some sort of distraction, that word that coaches love to use. Clearly doesn't have the top tier arm strength. I think Baker Mayfield does have better arm talent. He's more athletic than Kirk Cousins. And I do think he brings a confidence level that Kirk Cousins doesn't have. Some throws that Kirk Cousins might shy away from, Baker, I'll take that throw. Give me that throw. But where he lacks is that football IQ. And some of that is not his fault because he's been through 4 coaches in 3 years and he's still catching up. He doesn't have that fluency with his system that other quarterbacks do. I think that matters. But I also totally agree with you that maturity is an issue. You can't, like every Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever your quarterback talks to the media, there's probably a little bit of, oh no, I hope Baker does say something. Or is he going to say something on the field or to an ex-coach? Something. And those things have to stop for Baker Mayfield to really reach his full potential and to gain the trust of an organization to say, you know what? We are going to attach ourselves to you for the next 9-10 years, the way that the Chiefs did to Patrick Mahomes or the way these other long-term deals. He's got to prove himself that he has grown up and that he can take on that character leadership role, which to this point has been very inconsistent.
Yeah, to say you're being kind, it's been a disaster in my opinion. Danny Kanell, former NFL quarterback, CBS Sports, 7 years with the Giants, Falcons, and Broncos. Good seeing you, buddy.
Download the all-new Fox Sports app now.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.